is up, Roto Grinders? 2 hours nonstop NBA DFS conversation starts right now. 7:30 is the lock tonight. Kind of a baby slate, just a six-gamer going down tonight in the association. One late game, 10 o'clock, Lakers, Clippers, battle of Los Angeles. Injury-wise, officially LeBron is questionable. I assume he's going to play. More dicey situation will be players like CJ McCollum, who's questionable, Brandon Ingram, who's questionable, Rudy Gobert, who's questionable, Jakob Poeltl, who left last game, is also questionable. Ivica Zubac in all his revenge, he is ill, so he's questionable on the other side of that Laker game for the Clippers. Of course, Paul George already ruled out. Myself and Will, Chief, you guys know him from such things as the Prop Shop. The people probably are like trying to figure out the brand new layout here at Roto Grinders. I know I was digging into it last night. It's I know I'm supposed to be like a company guy and all that, but I legitimately think it looks great. I love the blue. So good job all around. If there's any sort of hiccups, by all means, feedback is welcome. They want to know, they want to perfect it, they want to get it just right. But to me, it looks pretty awesome. I'm still kind of figuring out exactly where everything is. Everything's kind of slightly moved a little bit. I don't like change. But, yeah, it looks beautiful. Good job to the tech team and everybody involved on that. Will, what's up? Happy hump day, right? It's Wednesday, correct? I lose track what days it is. It's Wednesday. What's up, Will?
Nothing much, brother. Glad to come on. It is Wednesday. Mike. Guess what day it is? Ladies and gentlemen, if you grew up in our generation, you know all about that commercial. If you did not grow up in our generation, you still probably know that is probably the most popular hump day commercial ever. I would say I think that's probably the classic.
It might be the only hump day commercial, though, if we're really gonna break it down. Like, I don't know, other hump day commercials I'm not aware of.
I'm sure they made some others, but like that one, that one has stuck out, man. I think everybody knows about that. But anyway, yeah, definitely glad to be on. I'm always excited to come on and talk shop about DFS. Listen, folks, I love this industry. I love the DFS industry, and it's helped me to carve out a new career path for myself. And so, I'm always indebted to RG and just the industry in general. Dean, when's the last time you've worked in an office? Like an office building or had to punch in? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't take this stuff for granted, man. That's why I'm always so grateful to be able to do what we do.
Yeah, gratitude's important and probably don't take the time, but super lucky to get to do this for a living. Thankful for those that watch and support. Technically, I went to the Roto Grinders office when I lived in Nashville. Probably not enough, but I did pop in the office there. But there was no sort of generally I worked at home. I worked in teaching previously, so basically never. I've never worked in an office. Essentially, I've just very very minimal office experience. I know you were in finance previously. So you probably have some good water cooler moments, I suppose.
Oh,
or maybe
man.
Terrible water cooler moments.
So many. But listen, I don't worry about it. And guess what, Dean? I enjoyed it when I did it. You connect with people, some people, we did some life-changing things, but all in all, I'm glad that, like I said, we're able to do what we do. And listen, folks, you need a little bit more positivity in your life. This doesn't have anything to do with Roto Grinders. It doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm not getting paid to do this. But here's what I decided, Dean. I know it's 6 games. We'll talk about it, right? We'll talk about these 6 games. But how many times do you hop on Twitter and all you see is just negative, garbage, junk, like just clickbait? It's just awful. Folks, I've got something for you. It's winning words of wisdom. You get it every day. I'm not clouding my page with a whole bunch of stuff. You get the winning words of something to make you feel good, make you reflect, and maybe help you go out and do something good in the world that day. Check me out on Twitter at Chief Justice 06. Winning words of wisdom. No payment required. It's nothing like that. It's just a feel-good moment to kick off your day or at any point in your day. Maybe you're having a rough spot. Trust me, go to the Chiefs page and get winning words of wisdom. Hopefully it'll be a little pick-me-up. All right, Dean, back on track.
And you have like themes too, right? As far as your words of wisdom, depending on the week. I feel like I remember I was asking you about it, and I was like, you know what? Monday and Tuesday feel awfully similar. I was being a jerk. I was like, this is basically the same message. It's a good message, but it's the same. It feels like you're repackaging. But you have themes, right? As far as weekly and all that.
Yeah. So this week's theme is about helping others. That's what this week's theme is about. Yeah. So you hop into winning words of wisdom. You see what it is. But if I'm not mistaken, this week's quote is or today's quote is, "There's no better exercise for the heart than to reach down and pull someone else up." I'm pretty sure that's today's quote. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And I think that's great. Now, listen, I don't write these quotes. So the people that actually write the quotes, their name is in there. Like, I'm not coming up with this stuff every day. Once again, I want people to get their credit. But if you need to feel good, hop on the Chiefs Twitter, man. And I'm all about putting out positivity in the world, man. Put good out, get good back. Dean, how about the DFS slate?
Yeah, it seems like a pretty interesting one. Perfect number. I think 6 is pretty solid. Couple early games, 2 games at 7:30. Couple middle games, 2 games 8 o'clock. So 2/3 of the slate is done within the first half hour. Then we have an hour break for Sacramento, Denver, and then we have the finale, the hammer that is the Lakers and the Clippers. Somebody in chat mentioned, and like this is one of the interesting. I feel like something goofy is going to happen with New Orleans. They are in the midst of a 5-7, and they're on the back half of a back-to-back, and they're traveling, and their travel was a mess. They did not get in until 5 o'clock in the morning. And
guys have already been sitting anyway, like already. Like now, I'm not saying like they've already been ruled out. I'm saying every other day, every other game, it feels like one of these big names is sitting out anyway.
And Brandon Ingram hurt his ankle last night, and I was a little bit surprised he came back. I think it was his ankle. I was watching the play, and he had to go to the locker room for a bit. Zion has not played a ton of back-to-backs this year. He's done it, but he hasn't done it a lot. The other tricky wrinkle to this is I believe this is the first half of the ESPN doubleheader. So ESPN wants these guys to play, obviously, but they're really set up for failure. 5-7, back-to-back. Travel issues, that is like the nut low. I would not be surprised if we see some guys resting. And New Orleans says they've picked their spots. And I also think like McCollum is going to be the guy. Like I think at least according to the drafts I've had throughout the day on Underdog, that's like my sneaky last pick basically. And I feel like things might open up for him. We'll know 7:30. If we don't know, crunch time's going to know. But I really think that the New Orleans situation is one to monitor. I think there's a decent chance we get at least one of Zion or Ingram sitting out. And also the line kind of reflects it. 7 points is a pretty big line. And also facing Indiana, the team that wants to run you off the court, that's probably the worst opponent to face when you're exhausted, playing 5-7. I did bet the Pacers earlier today. So hopefully it works out better than my Zion assist bet. Oh, boy, that was not good for your boy last night.
You mean point Zion coming into the building?
It was foul Zion is what we had last night. Unfortunately, he fouled way too much, and he fouled out, and he played like 28
turnovers minutes too. But I mean, it is what it is. Dean, guess what? Listen,
what's that?
You're not going to get it right every day, but on the days that you get it right, you hope your stance gets you paid. That's all it is.
Well, what's the famous saying? Like, what do I win when I'm right? When I'm actually right. You don't have to be right every single time. You can only be right like 5 or 10% of the time, whatever it is. Like right, like really, really right. But what do you win when you're really right? You can go 1 for 9.
The key.
Yeah, it's got to pay off for you. Devin, producer Devin, hanging out in chat, dropping the promo. If you guys are not aware, $10 off your first month for premium. If you can see premium on the screen, we're going to be featuring some more premium stuff throughout the show. We're going to talk about Sim Labs as well a little bit later if the people are not aware. $10 off. Scores and odds under the umbrella. I know you contribute to scores and odds. You contribute to all sorts of prop stuff in the prop shop. The people are aware. RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Check out the prop shop. That is free. You do not need a paying membership. Most of the rooms.
Money is being made, Dean. Tennis even though we didn't have a great tennis day today, like this stretch of these tournaments, tennis has been great. NBA's been okay. Baseball is on the horizon. We've started dabbling in a little bit of spring training, and I use spring training as a way to kind of get me ramped up for MLBD, where I'm just kind of seeing, how are the pitchers pitching? And look, I know it's not a perfect science, but I'll give you an example. Like last season, I noticed in spring training, Aaron Nola was having trouble, and it wasn't like he was working through. So he was having real trouble. And guess what? He carried that right into the year early in the year. I'm not saying at the end, but I'm saying earlier in the year, Aaron Nola was a target point for me for unders in the prop game in terms of strikeouts, in terms of innings pitched. You see what I'm saying, Dean? Another guy that had a rough spring training last year, and if you watch some of the games, you knew it wasn't just him working through, was Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns had a rough spring training, and if you remember, he started the season, wasn't necessarily hitting all the strikeouts, was having a hard time getting through innings. And so I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, at least through the first two starts, Joe Musgrove is this year's candidate for a rough start to the season. He has not looked good. So we will see if that continues. I'm going to go and watch some more film on him and see if he's having, is it true control issues? Is he not finding the zone? Like, what's going on? And then if I think it's something that's actionable, we'll carry that into the season. Joe Musgrove, we know he'll probably come out at 5.5 strikeouts most days. He'll probably come out at, 16.5 pitching outs. And if he's continuing to struggle, I don't think he's going to make it past 5 innings, and I don't think he'll get a strikeout. And those will be some unders to target as we start the season. But once again, Dean, still early. He's only 2 starts in. But this is why I get into spring training, so I can have my version of what I feel like gets me prepared for a really long MLB season. Thanks again for listening, folks. I know we're down a rabbit hole. Plenty of NBA to talk about. We're going to be good.
We got plenty of time, just 6 games. Also want to mention we're doing a giveaway tonight. So we're going to be doing a giveaway pretty much, some version of a giveaway pretty much every single show going forward. Give back to the people. I know we were doing it just exclusively on Fridays, but producer Steve is going to be collecting your well, go ahead and jump in the Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Go in the live stream chat channel. I assume, Steve, I've not confirmed, but I assume
put your name in the collection plate. For those of you that go to church, put it in the collection plate.
The RG logo is producer Steve HOF. It's right there in the live stream chat channel. Just hit that button. You'll be eligible. The icon, the avatar, whatever word you want to use, I suppose. And your name's going to be thrown up on the wheel. We're going to spin that wheel about 6:30 on the East Coast. We yield to crunch time around 6:45 again because of the late start time. Crunch time coming in a little bit later as well. I see people hitting it now. Get yourself 1 month free of Roto Grinders Premium. And just so you know, that's not just for basketball. It's all the bells, all the whistles, the projections, the articles. Somebody in chat was talking about, Cheese, Dave Potts. You mentioned baseball. People think of Dave Potts. People think of Cheese. His musings are, I guess I'm biased, I suppose, but I really think it's the best article out there in baseball that I've seen. It's actually fun to read about baseball, which a lot of people find baseball mundane and boring, and he finds a way to keep it fresh and interesting, and most importantly, super informative as well. You get that because baseball starts, I think, the 28th. So, well, I guess it wouldn't work for today, but you know what I mean. In theory, if you had a month, but you can get yourself a month free for $10 off. Go ahead and jump in the live stream chat channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord live stream chat, and go ahead and click on the RG, the gears, the avatar. I guess we got to get a new one where it's blue. That's the old school one where it's blue and orange. The new predominantly blue logo, which is pretty sweet. Check it out on the Twitter. Oh, and by the way, if you want to help us out by rocking the Roto Grinders avatar in your DraftKings lineups, your FanDuel lineups, we're going to incentivize the people. People, they might do it. They might consider it, but you got to incentivize them just by having the RG logo in your, in your profile. Here's what we want to do. We're running a badge promo right now. Nothing we like more than having people rock the Roto Grinders badge, seeing that badge at the top of the leaderboard. And we want to reward you for doing so. You check out the link in the description. Go ahead. Producer Steve's going to drop it for the people. But right now, we're also running a contest. You can win yourself a Switch, a Nintendo Switch. There's a contest being run right now on Twitter. I want to say You have to get it in by the 1st, like 8 o'clock tomorrow. Nope, there is a 29th tomorrow. So you got about a day and a half. Producer Steve's going to throw that link up on the screen. Get yourself a Nintendo Switch. All right. We got all that stuff out of the way. We should fully dive in as far as the slate. Again, a lot of body parts are monitoring. De'Aaron Fox, I want to say he was at practice today, so I anticipate he's going to play. Gobert played last night. He's got an ankle. We're expecting Cat back. Cat is off the injury report. I guess he wasn't technically injured. He was just unavailable for a personal reason. And we kind of touched on the New Orleans situation. We should know that at some point throughout the show. If not us, Crunch Time will know it. Alex Caruso, he went to the locker room yesterday. He's questionable tonight with a hamstring. Really interesting situation there because we have Chicago versus Cleveland. Cleveland's got the big boys, so they're probably going to roll out Drummond to start, which means chalk Andre Drummond. That's always fun. That's probably what's happening tonight. But is there anything else you want to mention as far as, big, overall picture when it comes to the slate? I mean, I ran some optimals, Will, and we're getting a ton of Clippers because, no Paul George. Norman Powell looks super popular. If Zubac goes, he looks pretty good. Terrence Mann as a cheapie also works. That's kind of where I'm at as far as DK. The most popular players that I've seen so far are Powell, Drummond, Zubac. James Harden looks good. KCP is a cheapie. That's DK specific for what it's worth. FanDuel is similar. Whatever you have as far as the slate before we dive in and talk about it game by game. Will, you are on mute, sir.
Yeah, there we go, man. Gosh, I hate when I do that. Like, it sucks so bad because it takes away from the organic feel of the conversation. You start getting in, you answer the question right away, and no one hears all the goodness that was spewed in those first 5 seconds. Then you have to recalibrate and come back to it. At any rate, recalibration shall commence. Dean, here's my question to you. Answering a question with a question. On a slate like tonight, where all the value, or let's say most of the value, I want to say all, most of the value is locked up into one team because of an injury, and it's good value. We don't think this is bad chalk, Dean. I think we think this is good value, good chalk on the cheap end. When do you decide that, you know what, if I want to get a little different here, perhaps I fade some of that, right? And I go to a little bit more of a balanced build. Like, is that something you think about on these slates? And obviously we have Lineup HQ and Sims to kind of give us an idea of what that looks like, what that could possibly score compared to what we feel like the lineups are going to spit out. But I'm just curious, like, whenever we have concentrated value, I start trying to think of alternate ways to win. And so I'm wondering if that's something that you think of when we have, and like I said tonight, in my opinion, heavy on Clippers because of the Paul George situation.
Yeah, it's funny because I could just think back to yesterday, and I talked about it in the show, but I did not do it. Do as I say, not as I do. I don't make a ton of lineups, but I don't know what he came in at. But Luka was projecting like a 2 or 3% or something like that. And I'm like, why is Luka coming in so low? We had the value to get to him. It's just the upper mid tier was really, really strong. It projected really well.
It was.
It didn't work out. Like, you had to get Luka. Like, Murray wasn't spectacular for Atlanta. It was a blow, and he got there and assisted, didn't score many points. But yeah, I'll tell you, I'm not married to a specific idea in this slate because I really feel pretty strongly that we're going to get some news for New Orleans, possibly for Minnesota, possibly for both. I know Pirtle is in for Toronto. Just kind of interesting because that's an awesome rebounding matchup there versus Dallas. Dallas is one of the worst rebounding teams in all of basketball. Pirtle, pretty good matchup for him, actually. So I think he's kind of sort of somewhat interesting. And the Zubac thing is tricky because he's ill, and you never really know. He's got an illness. How do we guess what that means? We have no idea. Do we know if he's going to play or not? I don't know. And against the Lakers, he probably would play a little bit more, considering how big LA is. Sometimes they don't close the Clippers with Zubac, but I think there's a decent chance he would close, considering how Davis on the other side. But have a contingency plan. I will say this: I think that Powell's pretty good chalk. although he's kind of scoring centric, but I feel pretty good about him. Man is the one that's a little bit shaky. I don't feel as great about, but again, I really think that
that's the thing. The minutes are going. He's going to play 30+ minutes. I think, no doubt about it.
Probably, yeah, he's going to play
unless
a fair
it's
bit.
Some weird blowout or something like that. I think his minutes are going to be
there. Yeah, they're talking about just sort of players. So T from LOC says, set a line on how likely I am to lose focus on a 6-game slate. Have I lost focus? We haven't officially kind of dove in, but I think I'm pretty locked in. Maybe if Steve drops a poll question in the chat that might, get my attention. I don't know if that's losing focus. I think it's just kind of driving the show, but I suppose that's subjective depending on how you interpret such things. But Will, I think we're going to keep focus on this show. How do you feel? I think minus 130. Bet on no. Bet against me losing focus. Maybe that's a bad idea. I shouldn't be giving out gambling advice after the Zion play last night, but I feel like I'm going to be pretty focused this show.
I think we're going to be fine. Listen, man, Dean, I like to talk strategy, so that's why I asked that question, because strategy, in my opinion, is really how you win. Like, it's not necessarily it is the players, but it's how you approach slates and how you think through construction in the field. Like, all those things work together. So I think we were talking a little bit. I think we're right on par. Like, we're talking about the slate and how we may want to approach it. So I am with you. Let me say this last thing, and I'll hand it back over to you. I am with you that the New Orleans news is probably going to handicap us a little bit until we get, because, for instance, if Zion and Brandon Ingram were to sit, that totally changes the slate. If all three sit, it definitely changes the slate, because now you're getting into, as an example, not only are you going to be playing Trey Murphy, you're probably going to be looking at some Jordan Hawkins. You're just going to be looking at some interesting things to do, which will change the Clippers' value. You see what I'm saying? So that's what's going to happen with this slate. And then that also changes maybe how you view Indiana, because maybe you anticipate a little bit more of a blowout on their side of the ball.
There's so many situations with New Orleans. Zion, Ingram, McCollum, Murphy, all questionable. So, we'll see. If there's one standing out of those four, that's a lock and load, obviously. I kind of feel like there's a decent chance that I feel really strongly that McCollum's going to play. And I think at least one of Zion and Ingram doesn't play. But we'll see.
Yeah, and guess what? That's really important. Now, in this case, we get the 7:30 game with that tonight. This is something Blender and I talked about earlier today. Come Friday, there's going to be no late swap on DraftKings. And so if you don't have the news, how do you make these types of decisions? So as you can hear, Dean, I think, Dean, you said you were doing this on Underdog. Dean is leaning into some uncertainty, so much, but the payoff, Dean, if everybody sits and McCollum plays, you're going to have a shot. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you will have an advantage over the field, especially on a site like Underdog, where people probably aren't trying to draft McCollum right now because of the news. So then we'll get into some even more more interesting discussions in terms of lineup construction. But at any rate, I know we've got these 7:30 games. Aaron Neesmith is out, so I think that changes things. That's going to help us.
Mathurin, I think it's solidifies.
Yeah, you probably want to play a little bit more Benedict Mathurin now. So that's what I'm saying. See, these little things help us keep the slate moving along.
All right, let's do it. Let's talk about the very first game of the slate. That's Dallas, the Mavericks in Toronto. 241 is the total. Dallas is a 4-point favorite, despite being playing on a back-to-back. They're on the road as well. Who's in and who's out as far as this game? Well, Maxi Kleber, he's got a nose and he has a toe, so he's unavailable. He's officially doubtful, I believe. Dante Exum is back. We have not heard his music in a while. I assume they don't give him a ton of run. He's going to eat somebody else's minutes. Dallas is mostly, the big two, right? Luka and Kyrie anyway. Toronto is fully healthy. Pirtle's got, he's good to go with an ankle. I say fully healthy. Boucher's questionable with an illness. I don't think he matters a ton, especially with Pirtle in. He would have been opened up, I think, for a few more minutes, but it would have been Kelly O season, I think, if Pirtle was out, but that's not the situation. So yeah, talk to me as far as Dallas and Toronto. How much are we prioritizing Luka? Like, he just reminded us last night. Like, it's would he 12K? Okay, it's worth it. It's worth paying him because his raw points can be outrageous. Yeah, Dallas and Toronto. Where are you at here?
Yeah, I definitely think Luka's in play. No doubt about it. And hear me out here. I think Luka's in play every day. It just depends on how you want to construct your lineups. Because here's the thing, and I wrote this up a little bit about Luka today. Also, Dean. Not only is Luka playing, is his coach Tom Thibodeau. Because it sure feels like it when he's playing 40 minutes every night. Now, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but my point is not only is he their main cog for production, he also plays more minutes than anybody else on the team. Like, I in my mind, we've been saying this, Dean. How in the world is this sustainable? How does he not have a foot that's like sitting on the bench next to the coaches? But he keeps playing big minutes. He keeps producing. And so I definitely think Luka is in play today. They're telling us that it's Luka Doncic's birthday.
25 years old.
Perhaps that plays into it. I'm not really worried about that. Whether it's his birthday or not, he is, I think, the main stud target today. I know we have Jokic on the slate. I know we have AD on the slate, who I would love to talk about because I do think AD has been spectacular this season and just continually gets overlooked because of his previous injury history. Domantas Sabonis has been producing at an elite stud level consistently this year. But Luka Doncic at 12K, absolutely, in my opinion, has probably the most consistent upside that we've seen because of how they're utilizing.
Yeah, I mean, it's Luka or Joker, right? It's one of those two. They're both on this slate here tonight. How about the Toronto side? But ownership-wise, currently, this stuff, of course, is fluid. Like, as per news is coming in at some point. This is as of a half hour ago. We have Luka at 21% on DK. Otherwise, players in this game, a couple other guys around 20%. Scotty Barnes, top play there on Toronto around 20%. RJ Barrett around 19% quickly. I like quickly a good bit at 15% if you want a little bit of a salary savings off of Barnes. I like him a little bit more than Barrett. If you can't get the $200, I'm fine with Barrett. Kyrie coming in at 8%. So if you want to play that game, Kyrie is cheaper and getting less ownership. Where's Pirtle at? Curious. I don't think he's going to get rostered much at all. Yeah, 6%. He was really on to like a slate breaking type performance. We don't get very often at a Pirtle because he can only score so much. He's not really going to exist. So he basically gets there through if he gets 15 points and 15 boards and throws in a few stocks, but his ceiling is only so high. But I do like the matchup here.
But on the nights he gets to 40 for 6K, you appreciate it because it typically works out for you.
Yeah. Is he? Who's your favorite Raptor? Is it Pirtle? Is it Scotty Barnes? Is it Quickly? Is it Barrett? How do we feel about Toronto?
Man, I guess if we're talking DraftKings, it's probably RJ Barrett. I still think he has some upside. I know it hasn't really been there like the past few games, but at 6,800, I definitely think that's a spot. If we're on FanDuel, maybe Quickly just because point guard is a little weak on FanDuel today in terms of like the cheap stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like the mid-range, I think on FanDuel, at least, I think that's where everybody's kind of going to land. So I do like Quickly a bit on FanDuel. And that's something else, Dean, that maybe we can talk about as we power through the slate here. Like what are going to be your differences between the sites in terms of construction? Because on DraftKings, I do feel like DraftKings has been much more loose than FanDuel, generally speaking, over the past, probably month and a half, 2 months, pushing 2 months now, where earlier in the year, DraftKings was so restrictive. I don't think we're dealing with that anymore. So there'll probably be some slight differences there. Outside of the Clippers' value, I think the Clippers' value is still going to be there. But outside of that, I do think there'll be some slight differences.
Zion, Ingram, McCollum, all still game time decisions. Thank you for nothing, New Orleans. I believe this is the ESPN game, so maybe there's a couple extra reporters there that maybe we can get some news there. I guess they tend to meet with the press and the head coach like 90 minutes before the game. So this is probably He's just like, yeah, game time decision. We got nothing for you. Thanks for nothing. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one. And again, you'll know. We'll know at some point because that is the very first game on the slate. Boucher is officially out, by the way. Somebody in chat's telling me the Water Boy is not available this evening. I did miss the update. I thought he was questionable. Not a big deal, but I figured it was worth clarifying. Anything else here we should stress as far as Dallas, Toronto, or shall we move on?
No, I think we're good. I mean, I just as a recap, I think on Dallas, your primary player is Luka Doncic. Now, I will say this, Dean. If anybody's playing owner's box, Kyrie, my goodness, he's a great play today on owner's box. Huge discount off of Luka there. And then same thing, like the Raptors are very cheap on owner's box as well. I consider owner's box like a hybrid of DraftKings and Yahoo, where sometimes Yahoo just has some players that are a little bit too cheap. And it's like, look, man, Gary Trent's $10 today. I don't know why, but like I'm just going to play Gary Trent for $10. Owner's box has a few of those plays. So I do like owner's box today. Going to be an interesting build there for sure.
Kleber officially out. I know he was doubtful before. Exum officially in. So just wanted to update that as well. That was anticipated, both those things. So our next game at 7:30 is New Orleans and Indiana. Should we skip this, or are we ever going to have a chance?
Yeah. I think let's do this, Dean. Let's power through these 8:00 games, get ourselves to the giveaway. And then if it's not there by the time we do the giveaway, then maybe we circle back and at least talk about what our approach to it if then. Does that sound good?
There's like 19 if then, so it's just like there's nothing we really can do right now with
no,
it.
No. I mean like our actual sites if then. I mean, let's talk through how we might approach it.
Yeah. And again, a lot of what we say might just get thrown out, like you're saying, if news comes in. Okay, let's talk about Cleveland and Chicago. 216.5 is the total. Very paltry number, obviously. It's slow-paced teams. Cleveland's defensive-minded. The Bulls coming off a disastrous home defeat to the Pistons. Good Lord. What an embarrassment. Cleveland,
the NBA had to hand Detroit that win because Coach Monty Williams just had such a bad disposition about the reffing in the New York Knicks game.
You didn't think that was a legal tackle by Dante DiVincenzo? Is that what you're saying?
Listen, but guess what? If you didn't watch, people have also posted clips where one of the Knicks players got tackled at the end of the game, and they didn't call that either. So I guess, hey, it is what it is, Just clean it up, Russ. Clean it up.
It was about a week ago, maybe 10 days ago, where New York lost to somebody because that Phantom Brunson foul at the buzzer. They appealed with the league, and you're not going to believe it, but the league rejected their appeal. Like, they're really going to overturn the game. Like, come on. I mean, New York was right, but they just got screwed. That happens. Okay. Alex Caruso officially questionable with his hamstring. Nothing else really new. Craig, Levine, Williams all out. Cleveland fully healthy. So I think the most interesting thing in this game, pretty clear, is Drummond. They've been overlapping the two. I think it would really, really solidify him if Caruso doesn't play. We are projecting Drummond to start alongside Vuk because that's what they're going to do against teams like New Orleans and teams like Cleveland. They did it against Cleveland earlier in the year where they started Drummond against Cleveland because there's some big boys on their side with Mobley and Allen. So Drummond looks like one of the best plays on the slate, which is a fun sentence to say, but he's an awesome, fantasy point minute player. I believe we're giving him 28 minutes. That's the last I saw was 28 minutes. I think was the projection for him. But you tell me, how do you feel about Cleveland, Chicago? Are you enthused about chalk Andre Drummond?
Let me just say, I think on DraftKings where he's 5,200, I think he may be necessary today, especially if you want to play Luka. Bossbro says, is Vooch out? No, they're actually playing Vucevic and Drummond together. And I wrote up some really interesting things about that today in an article as well. So super interesting there. It was actually a little bit comical. But at any rate, Dean, I do think on DraftKings, Drummond is probably more necessary. On FanDuel, I don't know if he's as necessary. Now he's only 5,900. Don't get me wrong, but I think there's more room for you to decide that you want to fade. Like if he ends with 32 fantasy points, like you may be okay. If he ends with 32 on DraftKings, you might need it at 5,200. You might. I'm not saying you will, but it's more likely. So, and then once again, I know I talked about Owner's Box earlier. I wrote him up in my Owner's Box article. He's even cheaper on Owner's Box than he is on DraftKings, D. So he's probably going to be a must on Owner's Box, if you will, or as close to a must as possible. But at any rate, I definitely think Drummond is our main Chicago Bull target here. I also think sneakily Donovan Mitchell feels like Luka yesterday. Donovan Mitchell at 4% or lower percent. He might be a little bit higher than 4 now, at least last I checked 4. On DraftKings at 9,400. I think this could be a spot where you overpay for upside, Dean. Now, does he have Luka upside consistently? No. But this is a spot where Donovan Mitchell could get close to 60 fantasy points here, even in this slow matchup. Why? He's their number one offensive option, even with Evan Mobley back. It's not slowing him down in terms of his scoring much. So I don't mind taking a shot on Mitchell at very low ownership on a small 6-game slate. If Luka finishes with 58, Donovan finishes with 55, Jokic finishes with 56, like Mitchell's going to come out ahead in terms of point per dollar, and you've probably built with slightly better players across the lineup that you hope have gotten you closer to some ceiling. So I really like Donovan Mitchell today, despite this matchup having a 216.5 total.
Yeah, it's not really hard to get over the field on Mitchell if you want to, if you're running a bunch of lineups out there. I think it's coming in at about like 4 or 5%, giving it a refresh when it comes to our ownership stuff. The big, the big number is Andre Drummond at 41% on DK, which I think is pretty justifiable. But, according to, we're saying it hits the opto 30% of the time. So if you want to use that rule, it's like, well, maybe he's a tick too over-owned, but I assume he's going to start. This is on the assumption he starts, and we're not even giving him like a pile of minutes. We're giving him 27 minutes. He's going to play alongside Vuk a fair bit because, that's just how Cleveland, they roll two big guys. So Chicago should counter, and it would be solidified even more if Caruso doesn't go. I know it's different positions. It sounds kind of weird, but that's just how that would go. Again, not a great game environment.
They have no name value on this bench if Caruso is out. Like, I know Javon Carter, right? Like we know Javon Carter. But in terms of like actual bench name value, Dean, like for instance, Cleveland bench, Karis LeVert, Isaac Okoro.
I've heard of those guys.
Niang, Dean Wade, Sam Merrill, even Damian Jones. Like he's older, but we know who he is because he's been in the league a while. The name value on this Knicks bench is just my goodness. And you wonder why Drummond has to start. He might have to start. He is one of their better options for playing basketball right now. So I think Drummond's fine, D. No matter how you slice it, I think he's fine today.
38 minutes for DeRozan, 37 for White, 36 for Dosunmu, 36 for Vuk. So that the four main guys we're giving a ton of minutes to. And that's actually with 27 going to Caruso. Now those guys probably can't get much more. But those 27 Caruso minutes would have to get delegated out.
Kobe White played, I think, 40 to 41 minutes last night. It can go up.
Yeah, and they might have lost a minute or so at the end because they kind of got blown out. Detroit beat them. Like I don't know if they stuck around into the entire end. Maybe the last minute or so they could have lost that. But the Chicago bench is not like it's not good. Their best bench player might be I guess that might be Caruso coming off the bench tonight. So, but like their seventh guy is Dale
and look, I know Javon Carter. He's been in the league a while. I mean, we've seen Javon Carter put up some nice games, I think, in Phoenix and Memphis. Like
Milwaukee.
Right. But I'm saying, generally speaking, Dean, like Dalen Terry, Terry Taylor, Julian Phillips, Anuriat Bitum, Henry Drell, Adama Sanogo. Like this, who are these guys? And guess what?
Who he played for? I would have failed that one. I don't know.
I almost feel like one of these guys comes out and mushes us tonight, and then we have to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I did not recognize your game. I didn't fully understand your game.
The Christian Wood gift. The meme for Christian Wood, which it hasn't aged well, by the way. It wasn't that about Christian Wood? I think that was about Christian Wood. Am I wrong in saying that? I think that was about Christian Wood. Shaq, Christian Wood. Maybe producer Steve can throw it up on the screen for us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't fully understand your game. Oh man, that's hilarious.
He had some awesome games for Detroit for sure back in the day. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about Memphis and Minnesota. Again, we should mention, if you're not aware, got about 15 minutes or so, get into the giveaway, RotoGrinders.com/Discord, live stream chat channel. Plate. And you might get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. We're going to spin the wheel. It's just producer Steve. He's got the avatar. Just click it. He'll know who you are, and he'll throw your name up on the board. We're going to spin the wheel, and we'll give away a week free of premium, all the bells, all the whistles, all the sports, with the exception of NASCAR being a la carte. Memphis, Minnesota. Well, another game that's kind of dicey, kind of up in the air. Who knows? We'll see. Does Minnesota even need their players against Memphis? Speaking of terrible teams, Conchar officially doubtful. The Nard Dog is out. Everybody else that you've heard of on Memphis is out too, except Triple J, who probably gets shut down at some point because why not? Anthony Edwards, who shockingly came back last night after getting walked off the court, and
how many times is he going to
always
do this,
finds a way? Yeah.
How many times? Anthony Edwards has 9 lives. We're calling him the Ant-Man. He needs to be the Cat-Man.
They already have the Cat-Man, but they got 2, I guess, in Minnesota, I suppose. But
you get what I'm saying. How many times is he going to hurt himself doing something, leave the game, and then come back? I mean, he's got to be out of these by now. And look, I'm happy for him. I'm glad he comes back. I'm glad he comes back because the world NBA isn't the same without Anthony Edwards giving us some posterizer dunk every year. And not only that, his game is improving. He's improving as a player. The T-Wolves are in heavy contention, Dean, out in the West. We want to see Ant-Man play basketball. But, brother, please, we need you on the court. We don't need you in the locker room. Here's what I will say. Here's the difference between him and young AD. AD goes to the locker room. We say, oh, he's done. You're slamming your computer. You're like, God, AD got me again. Anthony Edwards contorts his body. Looks like he breaks his shoulder, right? It's hanging. It's his arm is dragging the ground as he's going to the locker room. And you're telling yourself, oh, don't worry about it. He's fine. They're just going to put some ointment on it. He's going to pop it back into place, come back out, and score 60 fantasy points. Folks, Anthony Edwards keeps coming back. Don't know how he's doing it. And which makes me assume he's just going to play tonight. Who cares if they had to carry me off the court and back onto the court? I take your Jordan flu game and I raise you. I break a bone every game and I continue to play basketball. Folks, that's Anthony Edwards. I'm exaggerating, but you get what I'm saying.
The other side of that is they don't need him tonight, man. 209 is the total. 12-point
my
favorites.
Goodness. My boy
Memphis
says rub some tussin on it. Dean, do you know what tussin is?
I know it's the old Chris Rock bit. It's the old Chris Rock bit.
No, but no. See, here's the thing. It's not a bit though. Tussin was a real thing in the African American or Black community. However you want to say it. Listen, your grandmother had this tub, and not only would she anoint you with it. See, I'm using the word anoint for a reason. She would take those 2 fingers and pull that thing out of there and just rub it on you. I mean, oily and thick. My God, Tussin. Dean, you haven't lived. You haven't lived unless you've experienced that Tussin out of that screw. You got to see. It's not like traditional lotion.
I don't know if I ever have, to be honest. I'm not sure if I've ever.
You probably haven't. That's okay. But see, it's not like regular lotion where you can squeeze it out or turn it up and down and squeeze. You got to screw the top off. It's basically like having any lotion you've ever had, Dean, in a tub. And you have to literally portion it yourself. See, in today's lotion, you squeeze the pump, it gives you a portion. No. Not grandma's lotion, not grandma's Tussin. Grandma unscrews it and portions that thing out herself and may, in fact, put the whole half of the bottle on you. Oh, man, what a throwback.
How long does a bottle of Tussin last? like give or
Oh,
take.
if your grandmother has it?
Yeah,
for
it's the
about
same
3
one she's
years.
had since like 9. Okay, yeah.
About 3. Oh, listen, your grandmother prays over this tussin because she doesn't have money to keep going to the store buying tussin over and over. This thing's got to last. So anyway, I'm saying 3 years, Dina. I'm kidding. It's probably going to last you, a month or two.
Yeah, I got confused because I thought it was like a cough medicine, and I didn't know you rub cough medicine on. It threw me off. I didn't fully grasp the bit, but yeah. Again, maybe I'm missing out. I gotta get some tussin next time I'm not feeling so hot, I suppose. But Edwards doesn't need it tonight. He doesn't need to play tonight, but maybe he will. He always seems to play through things, but they don't really need him against Memphis. That's why stay tuned. And Gobert, he played last night. Battled the Frenchman last night with Gobert. Versus Wemby. I couldn't think of his name for some reason. Now we have Cat back. I could see them giving Gobert a rest. We'll see. The game against Memphis, you don't really need these guys. Of course, they can't play tomorrow. You're not going to play 3 games straight in a row, but it is the back half of a back-to-back. And I just think we're going to get some news here on Minnesota. I'm pulling up Twitter and seeing if anything's coming in on the fly. That doesn't always happen. Oh, yeah, here you go. Rudy Gobert, game time decision. Thank you for nothing. That's completely worthless. Alex Caruso officially ruled out, by the way. So there's going to be – who's the 6th man for Chicago? I'll tell you this. Drummond's going to be probably get an extra minute or two. He'll probably be projected for 30 minutes now because there's not much else. Maybe we can circle back and our projection team will hit it. But, man, there's just nothing there. As far as Chicago, that's 27 minutes for Caruso. They have to get delegated out. And the starters, it's really hard to give them any more minutes the way they're projected.
Kobe's going to play 40 minutes.
He might. He might play 41.
I'll give him at least 38 for sure.
Yeah. You can't project 38. 40, I don't think. Can you project 40? I'm not on the projection team. It's a median projection. It's tough.
I mean, but they're playing in big minutes. I mean, I assume all these guys play 38 minutes, Dean, if it's close. And I would say Drummond probably gets to 30 minutes. I would give Drummond 30 minutes in this situation.
And then it's Javon Carter and DeLon Terry, I guess, is the next two guys. But
Javon Carter's definitely going to play some minutes. But that's how I would view it.
What do we do in Minnesota, Memphis? Memphis is such a mess. Projecting pretty well for Memphis is Jordan Goodwin. With all their injuries, we're giving just 26 minutes and he projects fine. Triple J is tricky just because there's a big blowout risk, but his role is really good. I think Williams is pretty good, but now the price is kind of caught up with his situation. And of course, the matchup against Minnesota is not good. Minnesota, one of the best defensive teams in the league. Lamar Stevens, I guess, is a cheapie, but ideally, I don't want to mess with Memphis as much as I want to avoid them if I can. How do you feel about the Grizz?
The Grizz are just a weird team right now. I mean, if the game's close, you could probably play Jaren Jackson, but I think they're just bad enough that I'm okay leaving them, off to the side. They could be bad where no one gets their Dean. I definitely think Minnesota, in terms of them being a tough team, has been incredible. Now, here's the thing, though. If Anthony Edwards does sit, then I do think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to be big time in play. We still need to know if Rudy Gobert is going to play. But and obviously, if Anthony Edwards is out, Karl Anthony Towns is the focal play. I'm not trying to take away from him, but I'm saying now you get Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's another cheap piece that we can plug in, which could impact the Clippers ownership as well. So you see what I'm saying, D? Now you start getting some other pieces. You can start getting a little bit more creative with your builds.
Nas is the guy I think is pretty interesting if Gobert is out too.
I'm sorry. I meant more if Anthony Edwards was out. Sorry, if I misspoke, I'm sorry. If Anthony
I was just throwing him in the bucket also. There's a lot of if-then stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. If Gobert sits, and of course Nas goes in, and now that changes even more build. So this slate could get really interesting as we get down the stretch. But I do think I think if any of those guys sit, then you're going to have some Minnesota guys in consideration, because I think Rudy Gobert, even at 7,500, I think he's in play tonight if he plays. He's been really good at that price. So I'm okay. I'm okay with Gobert if he plays.
By the way, shout out our projection team. They're on top of Chicago already. 38 for Kobe White, 38 for DeRozan, 37 Vuk, 36 to Sumu, 30 for Drummond now. They gave him a couple extra.
You. Listen, man, I told you.
You have to. Yeah.
30 minutes.
And Carter 20, Terry 16. So there's DeLon Terry 16 minutes, Terry Taylor 15 minutes, Phillips. Do I know who Phillips is? Phillips is getting 10 minutes as well, allegedly.
Listen, everyone.
But I think there's a chance one of those guys like rises up and like we see Carter play 26 or Terry play 20. But my best bet would be Carter, but I don't feel good about any of them.
Listen, folks, I want you to know what I'm doing. It's getting warmer here in South Carolina. And so I've been so used to sitting in my office without my ceiling fan on. It's starting to get a little warm in here as we are progressing through the show. I got this light on me, and I've got my other light. So if you guys will excuse me, it's probably going to be less than 5 seconds. Dean, we're going to let you peruse through this thing. I'm just going to turn my ceiling fan on because, I mean, this Chiefs got to be cool here. I like to be cool, Dean. That might be a good not cultural topic, but a good topic. That's a good question. Sleep with the fan on or with the fan off, even though your air conditioner is running. I stay fan on. I need it cool. Give me a second.
Yeah, we were looking for a poll question. Maybe Steve can throw it out to the people. But yeah, I'm pro fan. Like I even when it's like 40 or 50 degrees on, I still have fans on. Give me as much.
That's right. Fan.
I don't even think. Is this a debate? Is this going to be like 90-10 or how close? With the tricky part, if you have a significant other, and then if you're not fan compatible, then all of a sudden, what do you do? But
Eric Johnson says I sleep with the TV on. Okay, listen, EJ, Lippy, let's talk about this. So, my wife put me onto this. At one point, she would sleep with like the ocean waves. It was calming. I said, "Oh my goodness, this is incredible." Dean, we sleep with the rain every night. It's a black screen. Turn that thing on. Get that rain sound going. Then we got to crank. Listen, you crank that central air on. Turn that ceiling fan on, and boy, let me tell you something. That's some of the best sleeping you can get. Listen. See, a Hammer says it. He would rather be cool than hot. Here's why. It's very simple. You've heard this argument from the beginning of time.
You can put clothes on. You can't take
exactly. Exactly. It doesn't matter how hot it gets. You take all those garments off. You just got sweat dripping all down. I mean, nobody wants to deal with that. We want it to be cool.
I have dumb superpowers. Like everybody's got like a really, really dumb, stupid, completely worthless superpower. My dumb superpower is I can fall asleep like basically like whenever I want in like 2 minutes. Like if I want to fall asleep right now on this show, I can fall asleep. I can just do that. It's worthless. It doesn't get me anywhere. Like I can sleep on planes.
These guys are saying
there's noise, there's not noise, there's light, there's not light. You want to play the ocean, you want to play rain. All of it works. I'm compatible across the board. Almost too compatible because I can sleep at pretty much.
They said the rain background. My favorite one is Still Point. For anyone that wants to get into some sleepy sound, Still Point. They've got black screen rain. Boy, it's incredible. This is one of the beauties of technology. I'm not saying everything's great, but boy, getting that black screen rain going while that head is hitting the pillow, ceiling fan turning, central air pouring in, getting that thing down, as our illustrious producer said, to a crisp 68 degrees as you head into La La Land. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I got bad news. Well, I feel like we're not going to get news when it comes to New Orleans and Indiana. So let's at least acknowledge that game. Let's knock it out. We're going to do the giveaway in about 5 minutes as well. 237.5 is the total. This is the front half of the ESPN doubleheader. New Orleans, we mentioned it earlier, 5th game in 7 nights, back-to-back travel, back-to-back messed up travel. They got in really, really late. So their schedule is all sorts of funky. They're 7-point dogs here in New Orleans. All their key pieces, most of their key pieces are questionable. Zion questionable, hasn't played a back. Well, he's done a few back-to-backs, so mostly hasn't done he's rested on back-to-backs, either the front or the back. Murphy is questionable. McCollum is questionable. Ingram is questionable. And we did get for Indiana, one of their players was ruled out. The player that was questionable. I'm losing his name. Naismith is questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know how to analyze this game. Like it's, if this is out, if it's all if then situations that crunch time will have a better time at, digging into as more information comes in. But I wanted to at least acknowledge it. You want to give me your thoughts as far as best you can do, New Orleans and Indiana?
Yeah. So for me, I think in terms of New Orleans, if we have two of the big guns sit and CJ McCollum plays, he vaults into big time consideration. If they all play, Dean, I think Zion is in big time consideration if they all play. If Zion is out and Ingram and McCollum play, I think they're both viable, and you could possibly play Valanciunas. If all three of them are out and Trey Murphy plays, then we're going to play Trey Murphy. And I think we're going to play Valanciunas. We may even still get to some. We'll probably get to some Najee Marshall, right? If McCollum's out and Zion are out and Ingram plays, then I think, of course, we're going to get Ingram and the rest of the crew. So it's just we wait to see if they're out, if they're in. Whoever's out, I think we play whoever's in because they're facing Indiana. On the Indiana side, I do like Benedict Mathurin now. He is priced up because of some of those bigger performances that he's had, but I still think he's viable. I think Miles Turner's okay. I don't think he's great. I think he's okay. And I think Tyrese Halliburton is just okay as well. I do think he still has the upside, but obviously we're getting deeper into the season. He's had some injuries. Perhaps it's just not coming together for him right now. But I think Benedict Mathurin would be the guy. And I think TJ McConnell is sneaky, but I don't think he's a better value than some of these other teams if all these guys were to sit out. Like the Bulls, for an example. Like, these are much better plays now. Like Andre Drummond is much more in consideration in terms of a must play than playing someone like TJ McConnell, even though they have
we just got it, and they're all playing, which is shocking to me. McCollum, Ingram, Zion, all in.
I'm fine with that. If Zion's in, I want to play Zion tonight against the Pacers. If he's in, like, this could be a good spot for him, man. I'm telling you.
Could I just say that I think they're going to play? I don't want to be like a baby about it. I don't want to be like a wimp. You're supposed to go for it. And like
Diary of a Wimpy Kid coming to you from Dean Shavelson.
It's an awesome spot. New Orleans at Indiana, right? But I just feel like their minutes are going to get cut by a minute or two, just because of all the situation that's surrounding the team. I don't know that for a fact. I'm not projecting the minutes, but like in my head, I just feel like if this game is in any way a blowout, the hook comes quicker than normal, right? I would project in my head like Ingram and Zion to play like a minute or two less. Maybe that's me like overthinking it, but you just sort of think about it. If you're the coach, right? He understands the situation. 5th game, 7 nights, back half of back to back. These guys, they didn't sleep. They all don't have my stupid sleeping power. They probably didn't sleep last night to some degree. I don't know, man. I just I'm a little apprehensive, but like in theory, the spot is awesome. It would have been better if one of these three were out. We didn't get Murphy, by the way, right? I think Murphy is still questionable unless I missed that or it's coming in now. Let's see. No Murphy update, but that doesn't matter as much though with these three in.
Yeah.
So I want to like them more than I do. Is my overall thoughts, but we should step aside and bring producer Steve in. Producer Steve, shout out to Steve for on the fly. He got the new RG logo as well, and I assume those that hit that one also are available to play to win themselves 1 week free of RG Premium in the Discord, RotoGrinders.com/Discord live stream chat channel. It's probably too late to get your name on the board, but we are going to be doing some sort of giveaway basically every single day going forward. Steve, what's up? Welcome to the show.
What's going on, guys? Yeah, today I wasn't too picky, so if you got any of the tags in Discord, you're entered.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so we're gonna do 2 winners. Just realizing now, guys,
I'm going green today. Let's go green.
I got a green-blue Quinella.
I'm gonna go yellow.
Straight yellow?
Yeah.
All right. Yellow times 2.
Yeah, so I don't have the music, guys. I'll have some clicking. Hold on.
I was waiting for the music.
Hold on.
Like,
Let me see real quick.
I don't know if the people demand the music, but I was kind of holding for music, and I'm like, where's the music?
I just picked something random, so let's see how it is.
Next time, you got to get your keyboard.
That
is it handy?
That could possibly be arranged.
Well, this is different.
Hey, spin the wheel. Hey. Spin the wheel. We hitting on blue. Kristi's in the background coming to you for. Oh, well, never mind. See, the music's done. I can't freestyle now. I can't freestyle.
We'll get it for you one more time. All right, let's remove him.
I got the green-blue Quinellis. I'm live.
Shuffle it up. All right, here's the.
Got to give it a shuffle.
Winner.
Hey, why do people freestyle? They got to say "a" like 20 times before they get into the bars. Like, why is that?
I think it's to help them think, but I don't know. Got to get their thoughts.
Tivo J.
Don't ask me.
On red. D said he can sleep anywhere. It means he's half dead. All right.
Her. All right. Congratulations, guys. I'll shoot you a message in the Discord.
Murphy officially in too. So New Orleans is gone
fully
to,
staffed.
Fully
staffed. You're going to be getting all your hits on time today, Dean. You don't got to wait for your chicken sandwich. They're going to bring it right out to you. They're not understaffed tonight. Here we go.
I think I think Minnesota's going to hook us up now. Otherwise, I'm just going to be like but all my plans. I had multiple routes considered, and one of them's been thwarted. But let's talk about the Kings. The Kings and Denver. 231 is the total. Denver is an 8-point favorite here versus the Kings. Officially, De'Aaron Fox is questionable. I think it's pretty likely he plays. I'm assuming he plays, but of course, pay attention to the news. He's the only person of relevance for Sacramento that is dicey. And Denver is fully healthy. Fully healthy Denver versus mostly fully healthy again, assuming that Fox is
De'Aaron Fox was that shoot around though, so I think he's going to play.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was getting at. I think he plays. So two fully healthy teams. Your thoughts? Obviously, Joker. You're never mad to get Joker, but are you prioritizing him over Luka? Are you prioritizing him over Davis, over Kawhi? Harden. We'll talk about in a second. You tell me. How do you feel about Sacramento, Denver?
On FanDuel and DraftKings, I think Sabonis is fine. On DraftKings, I think Jamal Murray is a better play on DraftKings. Like I really like him on DraftKings. Wrote him up today as well. At 7,800, I think this is a spot he could get off. Obviously, I don't have to convince you to play Joker like at 11-7. He's perfectly fine in play. And then also on DraftKings, I think Malik Monk at 5,600 is in play. Now, whether or not he hits ceiling tonight is TBD, but I definitely think he's someone that you should be considering in tournament bills, especially if you're playing mass multi-entry. But that's about it for me. Jamal Murray and Jokic. Murray mostly on DraftKings for me. Jokic on both sides. Sabonis on both sides. Fox more so on DK than FanDuel. All of these guys are in play on owner's box if you play over there.
You in the owner's box, man. I did play there during the football season. I played a bunch, but I've not played basketball.
Fun.
Yeah. I'm not besmirching. I just think it's funny that it's by all means give the people the information. Somebody out there is certainly appreciating it. They like when you give the the takes as far as your sides when it comes to player props. You're of course all over that in the Discord. You guys are not aware.
Oh yeah, I do like player prop tonight. Malik Monk at 3.5 rebounds. We want less than that projection. Malik Monk 3.5 less. Yes.
Hey, you know what we should do is we should talk about scores and odds, and let's just kind of show the people where they can find that. I know producer Steve, we talked about this pre-show, how this stuff works and player props, and that you can use our projections and how easy it is to see if you're in those streets. If you're playing on Prize Picks, you're playing an underdog, you're doing player props at your sports book that you're allowed to play on in a particular state. But Steve, show the people how easy it is to work with the old scores and odds, and how easy it is to pull it up. You can just pull up this specific game if you want. This is the game I'm going to watch, for whatever reason. So for me, I just want the best bet. I'll just take the best bet, and I got the package too. I'm not trying to humble brag, Will. I spent the $200, or I think DK might have hooked me up with the free league pass, so we can watch every single game. But if you want to pull that up there, Steve, and just hey, what is the bet we want? We want Monk, right? Where should we purchase it
at 3.5 rebounds? We want less than that.
All right. So what are we showing here as far as our projections, Steve? Do you have rebounds up right now for Monk or no? I think we had points.
Got to scroll back down. Got to scroll. No, we could just scroll back down. Oh, well. And then hit the rebounds tab and it'll pop up. We scroll up. Yep.
What is our projection? I can't read that. Will.
It's like 2.8.
Okay. And the best play, and also I'll tell you the best place to get it, right? As far as assuming you have all these book options.
But see, you can't get it at 3.5 anymore. Oh, you got to be quicker than that.
Well, you know what? You probably told the people 3 hours ago or so in the prop shop. I don't know when you talked about it, but a lot of these props, the later in the day it gets, the more refined the line is, the less the edge is. But if you get them early, sometimes you get them like in the middle of the night. Like I'm betting stuff at like 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning when things are coming out. And then, a point or two goes the other way in the morning and whatever edge was there is officially gone. But what are we looking at the best place right now to bet it on? I can't see what book that is. Yeah, I think Steve was jumping in on that. That is, I can't tell. There's the logo. Is that Caesars? I believe it looks like Caesars.
Points bet. Oh,
Points bet.
I thought it was Points bet. Yeah.
No, Caesars is right next door. I should have enlarged this picture so I can see it a little more clearly. But you guys get the idea. And there is a $10 first month off as well if you want to dabble in the player prop streets for scores and odds. And myself and Will and a slew of other really sharp people, we write picks up, and you have just the models to work with too. You don't have to read our picks specifically, just however you want to do it. Let's talk about the hammer. That is the Lakers and the Clippers. That is, I believe it's the back half of the ESPN doubleheader, if I'm not mistaken. Up in the air right now is, up in the air. LeBron's going to play, right? It's on ESPN. I think they play the Wizards tomorrow. Like if they're going to rest LeBron, that's when they're going to rest him. I can't imagine they rest him tonight, but
they're not resting him for the Battle of LA. He's basically playing at home. He drove from home to get to the arena. So he's got to be really hurt if he doesn't play tonight.
He's playing. Like, we can't. I'm just saying is officially questionable, but like, come on. LeBron is playing. Anthony Davis officially probable with his Achilles. Reddish is available with his ankle for what it's worth. Vanderbilt, Vincent Wood, they're all out. And the big one for the Clippers, we know that Paul George is out, but Zubac is ill. He wants to get his revenge game, and he's questionable, and it's also a late game. So maybe throw him. Well, you want to throw him into the utility spot, give yourself some versatility. I'm trying to think who would get. Maybe Westbrook would get a little bit more, possibly. I know it doesn't make any sense, but maybe it does.
Possibly. If Zubac
Amir Coffey. Not that you're playing Amir Coffey as a straight 1v1.
I mean, I got to think Daniel Tice would pick up 4 or 5 minutes.
Sure. Yeah. He's essentially the floor, but they probably wouldn't close with him. But although they have Plumlee as well. So I guess Plumlee would be the guy, right? Wouldn't Plumlee jump?
Yeah, I mean, Tice, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to get to Plumlee as well. Tice and Plumlee would probably pick up a few minutes, but I don't know if it would be enough to move the needle.
I'm going to see if we have an if-then set up for it. I know we had several that I was looking at earlier in the show, but yeah, talking about the Lakers and the Clippers.
Yeah, I think D'Angelo Russell's been playing really well. I think he's someone that's in play. AD has been in play for me on every slate. Like, I just can't talk enough about how good AD has been this season. Now, we haven't seen 70, 80, once a week or something, but he's been consistently, Dean, 50 to 60 fantasy points almost every slate. Like, he's been really good. So, love AD in this spot. And then on the Clippers side, I think we're all going to be fine playing James Harden, Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, and Kawhi Leonard. Whether Zubac plays or doesn't play, that's going to change. That's not going to change how we feel about, I think, those other 4 guys. I do think Russell Westbrook could be in consideration, even if Zubac plays with Paul George sitting. Perhaps he plays 20 minutes and has some form of an upside game, maybe gets you to 30 fantasy points or something like that at 5,300 on DraftKings. I do think he's fine to incorporate, especially at 6%, Dean. Like, I mean, he gets you 30 to 35 fantasy points. That could be enough, right, to help you down the stretch there, at the end of the night. So I do like Russell Westbrook. I think ownership's a touch too low considering Paul George is not playing. He could easily put up 20 fantasy points. I think he could also easily put up 35 tonight. So he's someone I wanted to highlight outside of Terrence Mann and Norman Powell, who I think everybody's intending to play anyway.
How do you feel about 44% owned currently Norman Powell? I talk about this all the time. I don't like really, really heavily owned players that are pretty reliant on scoring, and that's what Norman Powell is tonight. But I also like him. I think he's a good play tonight. Like the matchup here versus the Lakers. We lost some of the potential value, some of the value I thought we're going to get. We might get some Minnesota stuff, but yeah, the way things stand right now, I think I'm going to embrace it. I feel a little less excited about Man coming in at 21%. Zubac currently 26. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say to you is I think you feel like you might have to embrace it because where's the value? Like where legitimately where is more good value? So for instance, like if Anthony Edwards sits, you're going to get Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 4K. Okay, so you could probably play him, but he would be about it. Like you could play Naz Reid at 5,500 and Rudy Gobert sits, and then that changes things a little bit. But generally speaking, like Mann and Powell, they're going to play 30 minutes here. Like I think we're anticipating them playing enough minutes to, even if they're not going to score a fantasy point a minute, but they should play enough to help them have really nice scores to help you possibly take down some tournaments tonight. So I think they're going to be. I think right now they're necessary, and that's what the ownership is reflecting. If that makes any sense.
I add a little bit of bells and whistles, right? A little bit of variance tweaks, to my ownership stuff or to my, on lineup HQ. Most popular player coming in on let's see how many lineups I made. 81 optimal lineups. Andre Drummond hit the cap.
Yeah.
Not surprising, but right behind him is Norman Powell at 74%. We didn't really talk a ton about KCP. He's just kind of a glue guy. He's the glue guy for Denver is like on that team. And just on this slate, he's sort of like, if other value doesn't pop up, he's sort of fine. Probably doesn't make you, probably doesn't crush you, probably puts up around 25 or so fantasy points. But the next three most popular guys in the stuff I'm running, again, no Paul George. So James Harden, 44%, Mann at 36%, Zubac at 27%, and Kawhi coming in at 20%. So just so much Clippers. 3 Clippers. Are we getting any lineups of 4 Clippers? I feel like I was getting some earlier today. Okay, so we're getting 3 mostly. Would you play 3 Clippers? I think I'd play 3. I think I'm open to it.
Yeah, I think I would play 3. I might have 4 on FanDuel. I might go for the full Clipper experience tonight. I'm debating that right now, D, but we're going to see.
Got crunch time coming in shortly. They're going to be taking you all the way up to lock. Of course, you're not aware if you haven't pieced it together just yet. Lock 7:30 tonight, not 7 o'clock. It'd be weird if we were still on and throwing at the crunch time. They had 10 minutes and had to sprint. Anything overarching as far as the slate you want to touch on? Anything you want to hammer home? That's maybe something you're going to be well over the field on, something you're afraid of not having enough of?
It's definitely Donovan Mitchell. I did want to highlight him again. I know it's a slower spot here against the Bulls, but we have to remember Donovan Mitchell is the primary source of production on offense for this team in terms of scoring, right? And so I think at 9,400, maybe he's a little bit overpriced for this slate, but I'm okay with that. I think, for a guy that can get you 30 real points and put up some peripheral things as well, I really like him. Also wanted to go back and mention that I do like Rudy Gobert if he plays at 7,500. I think that's very reasonable. I'm not telling you to fade Andre Drummond. I don't think that's great, but at 7,500, Rudy Gobert's been well into the 40s and 50s in some of these slates. So I really like him. He's a guy that I think is an interesting play as long as he suits up. And then I think, someone that you talked about, Dean, which he is getting 20% ownership, but Luka Doncic. Don't forget about him at 12K. I mean, God, if they're going to play him 40 minutes tonight, then he's always in consideration.
I think I really want Davis and one of Harden or Kawhi and at least one more Clipper as the late night hammer as far as my main lineup. And LeBron is cheap enough. He's just 9-1 on DK. Obviously, Davis is better at accumulating fantasy, piling up those fantasy points these days. But I'm okay to either if it just kind of makes more sense as far as my lineup. But I'm pretty sure that's where I'm going to end up being, getting a little bit of a late night hammer. But yeah, you could be dead before the late night even starts. If Luka puts up 100, it's like, well, I don't know. I guess we're playing for guys that, you kind of need Luka if he puts up 100, and he certainly can. He can certainly come close to it. Hey, Will, I meant to ask this earlier. I know this is like completely off the board. Why the Athletics? Why are we rocking the A's hat? Well, what's the origin story?
This is an official A's hat from like their clubhouse. One of my friends has a relative that works for the A's, and so he sent me this in the mail. And I also, I guess now I got to show you guys my shoe game. Hold on. The reason I have my A's hat on today, sorry, I got the Dame Dollars. For those of you that don't, these are the Dame Dollars, and they're green. So that's the other reason I'm rocking the A's hat today. I got the Dames on, because I'm headed out of here. So yeah, so that's why I've actually got the A's hat on today.
Do you like the Dame Dollars specifically, or are you a sneakerhead as the term is being used?
I'm not a heavy sneakerhead, but I like different kicks. You won't see a lot of these Dames because they're green, so you won't see these a lot. So I like kicks quite a bit. Now listen, if I can convince Kristi, and she's coming on here shortly, to buy me some kicks, I really be in business. She's buying all the night swag. I'm trying to sign up to be her nephew immediately. That's a throwback to Christmas, by the way. Kristi knows what I'm talking about. But at any rate, I'm a low key. I'm not a sneakerhead, but I do like nice sneakers. But I'm not one of those guys that like has them all stacked up in the closet. Like if I've worn them, enough, and I'm like, oh well, I'm not really wearing these. Like I'll give them away.
Yeah, I think Kristi, and she'll probably talk about when she jumps on here. Didn't she bought her nephew some shoes, right? I'm not sure which ones. Something that a lot of people wanted.
Some Kobe Bryant reverse britches. Nothing special.
I'm sure that's cool. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure they're spectacular, and her nephews were thrilled. But
just as common as you eating salad with no dressing, Dean. It's just not a big deal. Not a big deal.
Give me the player that you're most afraid of not having on this slate. Who would that be?
Probably. Honestly, probably Kyrie Irving. Probably Kyrie, because I know him and Luka have this thing going on, and Luka's the lead guy, and he does his thing. But Kyrie could get to 60. It's not out of the question. And I don't really have much of him on the alternate sites. Now on Owner's Box, Kyrie's a spectacular play, but on the other sites, not as much.
Do you have a couple more props for the people? I know you put out a slew, and some of them may have expired at this point. Any that have not yet expired? Some of your favorite props in the slate?
I did put up Kyrie at 5.5, less than 5.5 assists. I think you might still be able to get that on one book. I think I have Max Strus at 3.5 rebounds. I think I have less than that. If you can still get that one. Let's see. Did you see Max
Strus's walk-off last night, by the way? Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
70 or whatever it was.
Jared Allen at 10.5 rebounds. I have less than that as well. That's when I have. I'm probably a little bit more overexposed to that one than I thought I would be today. But I do have that one. Karl Anthony Towns is usually sitting at 8.5 rebounds, and I think because he's been rebounding well recently, he's up to 9.5. Which I was a little bit concerned because I thought maybe the books knew something I didn't know. Maybe Rudy Gobert is going to sit, but I still took a shot at that one at 9.5. Also, I still think that's a touch too high, even facing the dreadful Grizzlies. And we have been, I think, 8 and some change as long as Gobert plays. So there you have it.
All right, crunch time's coming in. They're knocking on the door. You got Kevin Roth. You got Kristi. You have Taylor Smith as well. Me off. Look at that. Technology money was spent for a graphic.
That's the Drake. That's the Drake. Let's go gift. By the way, that's what you get, Steve, when you put that kind of transition. Let's go.
Kristi, Will is petitioning. Next time you go out and buy some shoes, put them on the list. I don't know
I will.
if you know some people or yeah.
Will, I got you. I heard you. I loved it, and I got you. I will get some shoes for you.
There's the gift.
Strong gift game here. Roth, our question of the day was brought up by Will. You know, we have a chat question, a poll question. It came up spontaneously. Sleep with the fan on all year round. And part of this probably depends on where you live, maybe. But yes or no, fan on all year round.
Yeah, I'm a cold. I want to be cold when I sleep. So if that helps that process, then yes, I will sleep with the fan on all year round for sure.
Kristi nodding as well. Taylor,
Yes.
are we going to sweep the board?
Definitely for me, my wife would object to fan on at all times, but yeah, you know.
So
Definitely
rock,
better to be
paper,
cold.
scissors. How do you figure that out on a given night?
Sometimes you go window open if it's a little drafty, maybe. Yeah,
Not in Houston, you don't. I'll tell you that.
definitely not.
No, not
TJ
at all.
pointing out
62%.
TJ pointing out he lives in an area where it's -40. The fan probably not necessary for TJ.
But
Fair.
what is negative
Fair.
40 in American, Roth? Can you put that in American for us?
I think -40 might be the same in both Fahrenheit and Celsius. I think that's like
Really?
a magic number. I could be wrong, but
That sounds insane. That's wild. What is that? What does negative 40 feel like? That sounds yeah, apparently according to the chat, they're confirming negative 40 is negative 40. Did not know that, but
Listen, don't try to challenge the weatherman at his job, D.
let's go.
meteorologist, to be clear.
What is this? Get Dean out of here. Dean's being
Well,
insulted.
he does not. He's not going to say it. He's a nice guy, but he's like, "Come on, don't call me a weatherman. I went to school for 19 years." Put some respect on meteorologist.
You know what? I apologize.
You're good.
Kevin Roth.
You're
I was
good.
unfamiliar with your game.
It's not that. There we
I
go.
was really unfamiliar with your game.
Kevin Roth, the Christian Wood of meteorologists. Hey, Will,
Ouch.
give the people your feeling.
Yeah, what the-
well, I mean, like
Now I'm offended.
I was doing the whole gift tie-in. I wasn't saying you're the LeBron. Okay,
All
Fine.
right. I see it. All right.
I was tying in the whole Shaq thing. Will, feel it in the plums. Who do you got that's going to break the slate tonight for the people?
Give me Donovan Mitchell. I've been on Donovan Mitchell, man. Give me D. Mitch.
That was Will. I was Dean. FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time coming up now. You got Taylor Smith. You got Kristi. You got Roth, the LeBron James of hosts and meteorologists and all good things. Roth, take it away.
That was just too much. Now we've gone too far. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is Crunch Time, this show presented by FanDuel. You know the drill. Bringing on two of the sharpest minds in the biz. Impressive. Chief had the matching hat and shoes. I'm not even sure if I've showered over the past 48 hours. So we're going downhill in cleanliness and freshness, but we are here for the good vibes. And of course, we've got Kristi to kind of spruce us up a little bit. Kristi, good to see you as always. What's happening?
Hey, it's great to see you guys as always. Happy to be doing a show with you guys. It's kind of a great one too. A lot of good plays, a lot of good stuff to talk over. So yeah, great to be on here with you guys.
Very good. Well, we are excited for your tournament takes as always. And then we've got Taylor in the house as well. He is well known for his projection work, for his cash game acumen, and he's going to help us walk through the people you should play. And then Kristi will give these are your tournament takes. Taylor, what's up, man? How are you feeling?
Feeling good. Yeah, it is a pretty good slate for 6 gamers. Still got some news we're waiting on, and yeah, I think it'll be a good time.
Okay. Well, I feel like maybe we should dive into, you might have noticed right over here. You may have noticed the beautiful new Roto Grinders logo. The whole site has been redone. It's not just a new logo. It's not just new branding. We've literally redone the entire Roto Grinder site. It took, I think, 2 years. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say I think it took 2 years. And the performance is better. It's faster. It's cooler. But with that comes some pretty neat things as well, including the RG badge promo, which essentially is you can win free Roto Grinders Premium just by having the Roto Grinders logo on your DFS profile. You're repping for us. We love that. So we're giving back to you. But also, if you check out the link in the description for that, but also for a limited time, you can play in our Switch for a Switch contest on the Roto Grinders Twitter to potentially win a Nintendo Switch just by switching your logo to the new Roto Grinders logo. I don't know who came up with that, but I am proud of them. It is a Switch for a Switch. So make sure that you're repping that RG logo. Okay. Hey, with that, see, TJ says you can win a Nintendo Switch and play video games against me. Who want to do nothing else in my life than do exactly that. Taylor, why don't you walk us through maybe what has happened and what we're waiting for, and then we'll go through, kind of a build here.
Sounds good. So we had a bunch of Pelicans questionable. They're all in. Second half of a back-to-back for them. Let's see. Paul George is out. We got that yesterday. That's pretty big news for the last game of the night for the Clippers. De'Aaron Fox, Anthony Edwards are both questionable. Rudy Gobert too. Timberwolves also on a back-to-back. And then we got Zubac downgraded midday to questionable. That's pretty big since he has a good play if he's in. Some value will emerge, of course, if he sits.
That's it? That's what we're waiting on?
Yeah. Well, LeBron also questionable. I don't know if that's a real questionable tag or not. Probably not.
Yeah.
So
generally, we think not. Okay. By the way, Derek in the chat says adding the Roto Grinders logo is super easy. I'm a moron and did it in 1 minute. It's very forthcoming, Derek. And yes, it is super easy to do. So make sure you are doing that so we can flood the top of the leaderboard with those beautiful new RG logos. Taylor, let's walk through a FanDuel cash build, if you don't mind, good sir.
Let's do it. So yeah, starting at point guard, we have Luka again tonight. 12-4 on FanDuel. Not cheap, but the matchup is even better than the one he crushed last night. They're in Toronto tonight. Like we've been talking about, the Raptors defense is kind of cratered since they made their trades. And it's Luka's birthday, as we see there.
You didn't have me until you said birthday. Now I'm paying up.
I didn't think I needed to talk you into Luka, but
that's true.
There we go. So yeah, cash on FanDuel. He's popping into most lineups, even at that high salary. We have enough value to get to him. I think you probably should. A few other point guards to consider. Harden is going to look better now that Paul George is out. More usage for him and Kawhi Leonard. Harden is fairly cheap, but you can go cheaper with Emmanuel quickly if you want. The Raptors on the other side of that game, the Mavs are not a very good defensive team. They play at a quick pace. Like I mentioned, Dallas on a back-to-back, so not a bad spot for Toronto either. Quickly at 7,100 looks pretty good. We are expecting Jordan Goodwin to start for the Grizzlies. They're shorthanded in the backcourt, as they almost always are. John Conchar just got ruled out, as expected. So Jordan Goodwin's fine if he starts. If he does not start, I'd be quite scared about that since he's kind of on the fringe of the rotation. D'Angelo Russell, another kind of mid-range point guard to consider. He would look better if LeBron sits. He's 7'7". But like we said, not really expecting LeBron to sit. So proceed with caution on that one. Moving to shooting guard, Norm Powell. We're projecting to start with George out. He's kind of popping as one of the best values on the slate on both sites. Shooting guard, small forward on FanDuel looks really good. Definitely a staple of your cash build. KCP is popping into most lineups at 4.7. Not ever the most comfortable value, not a very good per minute guy, but they do get a good spot against Sacramento and he's cheap. So, if you want to get Luka, paying down for someone like KCP is fine on this slate. I mentioned Harden, and quickly you can also play at shooting guard, ditto for D'Angelo Russell. Nickeil Alexander-Walker would look better if Edwards is out. I really don't know. He left the game last night, but came back. It's a back-to-back for them. Hard to get a read on that situation, but Nall would presumably start if Edwards is out with Kyle Anderson already ruled out. That game starts, I think, at 8 Eastern. Could be wrong. So we'll see about that. Terrence Mann, another kind of punt clipper you can consider. Not a good per minute guy either, but he's cheap and should see 30-plus minutes. At small forward, Kawhi is someone you can play here for sure. I mentioned he should see a usage boost without George. Harrison Barnes is only 4.2. He's Harrison Barnes, yet another kind of uncomfortable value, but he's getting quite cheap. Tough spot for them at Denver. But again, it's kind of a Starsy, Scrubsy looking build over here. If you want to pay up for Luka, I think Barnes is okay for cash. Let's see, Scotty Barnes also looks fine on the other side of that Dallas game, like we mentioned. think that kind of does it for small forward for cash. Same guys at power forward. PJ Washington, don't love it. His usage is way down since he got to Dallas. It's like right under 15%. So not the safest play there. Zion's popping into some lineups. Like we said, he's in on the back-to-back. Don't think he's a bad play. Another mid-range option. AD might be a little too expensive on FanDuel. And yeah, I think Barnes and Leonard is kind of where I'm hovering, mainly at power forward. And at center, we're expecting Andre Drummond to start. The Cavs play big. The Bulls started him next to Vooch last time they played a couple weeks ago. And Drummond is popping into every single lineup on FanDuel of the top 200 I ran at 5,900. If he doesn't start, then obviously you want to get away from him, assuming he's going to get ownership. But we're expecting him to start, so he is a staple for cash on FanDuel.
And that's not just like token start. You mean start and play starters minutes? Like what is his minutes?
We have him at 30. They are without Alex Caruso, and they have a really weak bench with a bunch of kind of fringe NBA players. So we do feel pretty confident in his minutes.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only center popping in FanDuel cash right now, which is a little scary because center on FanDuel has a ton of opportunity cost. But he's such a great per minute guy that it's really hard to get away from him. And I think if he starts, I'd feel quite confident about him.
Okay. Good stuff, as always. Let's kick it to Kristi here, talk some tournaments. I'm very intrigued about center because it seems like an easy pivot, but also seems like a spot where you don't want to miss Drummond at that price if he goes off. Can we start there? What are you doing at center?
Yeah, I think like Taylor's mentioning, just because his price is so good, I feel really good. If he's starting, he's someone you're going to want to go overweight on. Just the opportunity cost is too good. So I think you just kind of lock that one in and get different elsewhere tonight. So I think Drummond's a fantastic play. As you can see, we've got him tagged kind of across the board too in lineup HQ tonight.
The rainbow tag. Yeah.
Rainbow tag tonight. So yep, I think it's a great one. He just has so much upside for blocks. He can put up points in a hurry. So I think that's kind of our free square at center on FanDuel tonight.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's talk about where we are getting different or which other chalk you're eating. So kind of run through a build for me and let me know what your thoughts are and how you're going to win yet another tournament tonight. Kristi.
Yeah, let's do it. I feel really good about tonight. I really do. There's a lot of great plays. Taylor mentioned Luka and James Harden, and I do. I think they're both, looking at that guard position, I think they're super strong plays. Luka, birthday narrative, but, he's also a guy that he could easily put up 75, 80 points, and you need him in your lineup. So I'm going to get overweight on tournaments for sure in Luka. And Harden too, with George out, I think he's a great play. So I like those even in tournaments too. A couple other guys though to pivot from that I really like the upside tonight. And I heard Will mention them just as we were starting to get off of their show. Donovan Mitchell with Caruso now out. I think he's a fantastic tournament play. Just a really great spot for him. He has a huge ceiling, so I think he's someone that you could pivot to, get away from, Harden or Luka. Great upside there. Another way to get some exposure to Denver tonight, Jamal Murray against Sacramento here tonight. I like him on both FanDuel and DraftKings. I just don't think many people are going to get to him because they'll naturally get to the Hardens, the Luka, players like that, and even Jordan Goodwin, who Taylor mentioned. And if he starts, I think he's a fine value too for tournaments as well. Another guy I really like in that guard position is D'Angelo Russell. And since there's so many Clippers that we like, I like getting Russell, and he has really flashed some big ceilings for us. He's now averaged over 43 fantasy points in the last 4 games. And we've seen him hit some 50-point fantasy point games. So I certainly like that play quite a bit. I'd also throw Emmanuel quickly out there, and you can play him at point guard or shooting guard. He gets a great matchup at home versus Dallas. And, if you're getting Luka, I like getting someone on the opposite side. So I think quickly is a great play. He's still a great price, and his usage has really jumped up now that he's in that Toronto offense. So like that one. If you need to save a little bit of salary, I actually don't mind getting to Kyrie too. I think he's going to go overlooked with Luka garnering much more ownership, and with Luka carrying a lot of ownership in optimal lineups that are spitting out right now. So I think if you need to save, I definitely prefer Luka, but I certainly don't mind Kyrie too, because we've seen him put up a lot of big games for us recently as well. Looking at forward position on FanDuel, I do like Norman Powell. I think it's going to be hard to get away from him in tournaments as well. You know, we're expecting him to draw the start tonight. George is out. You know, just way too cheap at 4,800 over on FanDuel. So I like that play a lot. Tournament side, though, a couple guys I liked. I mentioned, you know, getting exposure to that Toronto game. I mentioned quickly, but I also like RJ Barrett quite a bit. You know, again, he has a great matchup, and we just don't have him projected for a ton of ownership. I think we have him at 17% ownership currently. So I think he's a nice tournament play, has flashed a good ceiling. And then again, on that tournament or on the Toronto side, once again, Scotty Barnes. If you look at his game logs, the last 4 games, he's now had over 54 fantasy points. So another great matchup. And I like getting that Toronto exposure. So getting to Barnes, Barrett, or quickly in your tournament lineups, I think is a great way to go. We've also talked a little bit about Kawhi Leonard. I think he's a great tournament play, great cash game play. And then getting down to power forward too. I like getting exposure on the Lakers side as well. So I think, you know, Anthony Davis is just not garnering. He's going to get a bunch of ownership on DraftKings, but not as much on FanDuel tonight. So I think getting to him and LeBron is a great way and just kind of game stacking that game. It's a big game. So I like that quite a bit. I think Kawhi will definitely be more popular. So getting exposure to those 2 Laker guys gives you a little bit different look. I also do like PJ Washington quite a bit. He gets a good matchup in that Dallas game against Toronto, and he's been getting pretty good minutes. We have him projected at 32 minutes, very cheap, just at 5K. So I think he's just a really nice play in there. Again, I like that game and getting exposure to both sides. I'd also throw Jaden McDaniels in there. You know, we've already gotten word that Kyle Anderson is out. We're not sure yet with Gobert and Edwards, but I think if you needed to save some money, certainly don't mind that. And then getting to the center position, like we talked about, for me, it's just one of those nights I'm really locking in Drummond. But if you weren't, you know, there's just a lot of guys that are going to, you know, guys like Jokic, that's going to, you know, hardly garner any ownership just because Drummond is in such a great spot. And we all know what he can do on any given night and put up some big points. So, you know, if you're looking to get a little bit different, I could see that. Great matchup tonight. But I'd say, you know, for the most part, it's going to be Drummond at center for me.
Okay. I did see a question. I think it was, do we think Zubac plays? And we're not in the business. You're on fire, according to Wolf, by the way. Not physically on fire. You're good, Kristi. Do we think Zubac plays? And if he doesn't, is there now a pivot at center that we're interested in? Or is he a viable play if he does, Kristi?
You know, I really wouldn't be looking to play him over on FanDuel. I think it's more a question on DraftKings, and he's in the price point range as a couple other guys that we'll get to, like even DeSumo in that Chicago game, about the same price. So there's some, you know, once we kind of get word on him, hopefully sooner rather than later, there are some pivots for us that we can talk about on DK. But I'd stay away from him on FanDuel. There's just too much risk, and Drummond's already a great play.
Okay, perfectly said. We should note Crunch Time is presented by FanDuel. Did you know if you bet $5, you get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins? For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 and up. Game or problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Shout out to FanDuel for keeping this show free. All we ask is that you hit the thumbs up. That's it. It's there at the bottom. I think that was a speed record for me, by the way.
I was just going to say, I think you might have broken your record. I love that every time, and you just crushed it.
Yeah, really, as the season's gone on, we're getting stronger and stronger there. Okay, hey, let's talk DK here, Taylor. What's different? And walk me through a build over on DK. I guess one of the things is you could potentially play 2 centers if you wanted.
Yeah, that's the main thing. And one of the centers popping into a lot of lineups is Zubac. So
there we go. Okay.
Yeah, you can wait on that. And, you know, there will be a lot of late guys you can play, Sacramento, Denver, and the LA Derby there. So there are pivots. I assume Daniel Tice would start if Zubac is out and he's 3-1. I wouldn't feel super confident in his minutes, but 20 minutes at 3-1 is probably enough. So
yeah. Okay.
We'll see how that goes. So yeah, like I said, there will be a lot of late guys in your lineups, starting with James Harden for 8-4 on DK. Great value, more usage without George as usual. Very easy to get to in cash. Terrence Mann, another Clipper you can play. He is 4-4, which is a bit high for Mann, but the minutes are going to be really secure for him, I would think. Certainly in this matchup. Happy with him in cash too. Maybe he's someone you can improve on if you do play a Zubac and you punt with Zubac instead. Maybe you can upgrade over Mann potentially. But we'll see how that goes. Luka's 12K over here. Happy to get to him in cash too if you can. Not going to say he's like an absolute must, but obviously you'll feel pretty good about things if you do have him. Scotty Barnes, point guard, small forward eligible over here looks pretty good. Mentioned Jordan Goodwin on FanDuel. They're also squarely in play on DK. I don't think Goodwin's quite as necessary over here, but if he starts, he would still grade out pretty well point per dollar. Shooting guard, KCP again, Norm Powell again. Norm Powell is obviously the priority, assuming he starts for Paul George. Mann, another shooting guard option. It's a lot of the same guys, frankly. I mentioned Alexander Walker as a potential cheapie to consider. I think I would prefer him over Mann if Anthony Edwards is out. So potentially you can pivot for that news if it comes out, breaks that way. That really does it for shooting guard. It's a lot of the same guys we were playing on FanDuel and a lot of the same guys that you can play at point guard. I guess RJ Barrett is still in play too in the 7K range for the Raptors. Scotty Barnes, like I said, eligible at small forward and point guard. Kawhi, both forward spots. You can play him. In cash, we obviously don't care about the negative correlation potentially between Harden and Kawhi, so I have no qualms with playing them both. Kawhi for 8-7 is just too cheap for the role he'll play in this one. LeBron's only 9-1, which I think is interesting. He's quite cheap relative to where he normally is. Not a must in cash just because we do have Kawhi kind of in the same range, looking very good. And Scotty Barnes on the other side of that Mavs game. But LeBron, especially in tournaments, is going to look pretty good, assuming he suits up. Karis LeVert, not my favorite value, but he is affordable enough for 5-3. Harrison Barnes, I think Malik Monk is interesting. He's small forward only on DK, which seems weird, but if Fox is out, which I'm not expecting, but he is questionable, Malik Monk is the guy that's going to get the biggest usage boost and potentially a minutes boost. I do think he's squarely in play regardless for 5-6. We've seen a ceiling out of him quite often. So I don't mind that, especially if you want to use him like as a placeholder and wait for that Zubac news, for example. Shifting to power forward, Kawhi you can play here. I mentioned Zion. Karl Anthony Towns is going to look fantastic if Edwards and or Gobert are out. Certainly if both are out, he will. He's only 8,100. I think you can play him either way. He's going to get usage. Memphis is kind of surprisingly good defensively, but not concerned about that if he will get more usage flowing his way. I mentioned LeBron, power forward eligible too. Aaron Gordon doesn't look bad, kind of as a last piece in cash. If you land on him, it's fine. Good matchup for them against Sacramento. Don't really want to do Lamar Stevens or Harrison Barnes, but they are playable. G.G. Jackson's probably more of a tournament guy. And then at center, Drummond, you're playing him, no doubt, assuming he starts. And Zubac is going to look good if he's in. 5,600 minutes should be there for him. AD looks really good. He's only 9,800, and like both of the Lakers stars are underpriced. AD, maybe you can get up to if you can find the value. Not sure it's a must. Don't think it's a must. I think you can play Drummond and Zubac, but I do like the idea of getting to AD. And then if Gobert is in, he looks decent enough, but I think he might just miss the cut for cash.
Okay, very good. Kristi, I want your tournament takes, but I was looking at the YouTube chat and I saw this absolutely eye-poppingly beautiful icon next to John Galicia's name. And he had a question, and it's this gorgeous new logo, and I figure we'll take his question. You cool with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Kristi, do you like playing AD Barrett with the claw as a late hammer, or Luka, Barnes, and Okoro?
I like the first one.
There you have it. Very good. Okay, we will, of course, take many more questions here. But first, Kristi, why don't you run through your build over on DK?
Yeah. I do have a lot of similar plays, but we'll kind of get to a couple things at the end, especially with the Zubac news and with your option to play in two centers over on DraftKings. But to start out with at the guard position, it's really hard to get away from Harden. I mean, he's such a great price. that even in tournaments, I just like him a ton with no George out. Luka, like we mentioned, he's a little bit more expensive. And again, I just like getting to him, and there's enough value to do it tonight. So I think he's just a fantastic tournament play. You can actually play Scotty Barnes here at the point guard position too, if you wanted to. And, like I mentioned on the FanDuel portion, 54 fantasy points over the last 4 games, and just getting some exposure to that Toronto game is great. So I like getting him in there too. Jamal Murray, I think, is another great pivot, again, on both sites, but he's a nice price, and I just like getting exposure to Denver. KCP is going to carry a lot of ownership just because he's so cheap tonight over on DraftKings. He'll probably be one of the more popular value plays. He's just cheap and should see 30-plus minutes. So I don't mind that, but I think Murray is a really nice pivot in tournaments. I also like Kyrie Irving too. Again, if you need to save just a little bit of money, great upside and still gives you exposure to the Dallas side of the game. Taylor mentioned Malik Monk, and I like that a lot. He's actually at the same price point as Zubac. So, if you left a spot for him at the end, there's some pivots that you can get to, but I think the upside's there. We don't necessarily expect Fox to sit. And I do like Fox as a tournament play too, just because when they carry the questionable tags, it's just going to lower their ownership. So I do like both of those plays quite a bit. Monk always makes such a great tournament play. Because he has such a good ceiling. He can also put up some, low numbers too, but that's what makes him a great tournament play. So I like getting to that. I would also mention again, Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, and I think Squirrel had tagged them as a couple of his core plays that he really likes tonight. And I think they're both great options on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Good spots to be. I'd also throw at shooting guard Kevin Huerter. He is cheap, and there's a wide range of outcomes, but I think for tournament play, I certainly don't mind him, especially if Fox is out, but someone that you could get to for a little bit cheaper. Aaron Gordon, getting to the forward position. I do like Aaron Gordon quite a bit. He's just really too cheap. Just $6K on DraftKings tonight. He has a big ceiling too, getting exposure to Denver. So I like either getting one of Gordon, Murray, or KCP. So getting some exposure to that game environment. At the forward position too, we talked about LeBron James being too cheap. I actually have him in my single entry over on DraftKings tonight. I think he's just too cheap, and he has a nice ceiling. It's a great game environment tonight. I think both he and Anthony Davis are great plays, and I definitely want to get at least one of those into my builds tonight. I just think there's too good of upside. So I think they're both great plays, but I currently have LeBron in there. Gregory Jackson, he's one of those guys that could, he could get some blowout, garbage time, plays too. And he has good upside, he really does. So I think, the tournament outcomes are good there too. And if you have more than one build, I think he's someone that you want to look at getting some exposure to. So I like that. And, we mentioned the center, obviously, and Andre Drummond on both sites is going to be a core play for us for tournaments and for cash games tonight. I know Noto has Anthony Davis as a core center play over on DraftKings too, and I like that. I think getting different, though, is getting to LeBron. I think he's going to fly just a little bit under the radar just because AD is carrying so much ownership. So I definitely like that. We talked a little bit about Karl Anthony Towns. He's going to be a great, incredible play, especially if Edwards is out, and if Edwards and Gobert are out, he's going to be a really, really good play. So I like, saving some room for him too, if you can, because he's too cheap and he has big upside potential. I like that. And last one at center, I'd maybe throw out there too, is Sabonis. It's a tougher matchup against Jokic tonight, but he has been, absolutely putting up some big numbers for us. And he has had triple-double in 7 of the last 8 games. So great tournament play. So I think there's a lot of great center plays, a lot of great center options. And then we talked about Zubac too. Again, he got that questionable downgrade midday, but if he does play, he's a great play. Maybe you build that in as your last piece, and then there's some other pivots that you can move to. We mentioned Malik Monk is in the same price point. DeSumo, in that Chicago game, and there's no Caruso tonight. So there's some guys that you can get to if he does get ruled out.
And if he is ruled out, and I forget who was going to start in his place in theory, who was it that we talked about?
We think Daniel Tice. Is that right, Taylor?
I would think just because he's been ahead of Plumlee lately, so that's what I would expect.
Would you have any interest in that, Kristi, or that's not for you?
You know, to me, I like some of the other. I think there's enough value elsewhere. Like, you know, we kind of talked about KCP, Goodwin, Norman Powell, and I failed to mention him for DraftKings, but I mean, he's a fantastic play. There's enough cheap value there that I don't necessarily think he's a must play. He's fine in tournaments, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's someone that you feel like you have to have.
Okay, excellent. That is what I was curious about. Good stuff for what it's worth. It looks like Edwards and Gobert are both in. So that, according to our guy, Tasteful Tides. We have about 6-7 minutes here until lock, and we like to take as many questions as humanly possible, generally starting in the Roto Grinders Discord, because that is where the cool kids hang out. So let's see what we've got. FanDuel cash question. Taylor, it's a 3v3. Quickly Man and Barnes, or Luka, Trent, and McDaniels?
I think the first one sounds a little bit safer.
Okay. DKGPP question from D-Rock. Kristi, this one's for you. Last piece. Aaron Gordon, who I think you mentioned, MPJ, or Keegan Murray?
Those are all good ones, but I think I'd go with Aaron Gordon. I just like his upside.
Okay, excellent. FanDuel GPP, Kristi, right back to you. Any interest in taking a flyer on Exum at near min as a value play?
You know, if it's, you know, kind of one of your last pieces, yeah, absolutely. I don't mind that at all. Yeah, especially if it gets you everything else that you want.
Great. Okay, Taylor, this question from Chinatown is DK Cash. Who is the most risky fade in the 7:30 games?
Let's see. I guess by default it would be Luka, but like I said, I don't think he's an absolute must. You know, Scotty Barnes. I don't think there's really anyone that's a must in the 7:30 games, honestly. Like the Luka and some of those Raptors look good, but waiting on some of the news if you want, I don't think that's a bad play.
Okay, great. I see what's happening. All these people in the Discord are getting flagged for bad language usage. And I was like, what is happening? It's generally a very positive community. They're asking questions about Grady Dick, and it's flagging them for bad language. Anyways, the question was DKGPP, Kristi, Grady Dick, or Javon Carter?
Ooh, I think I'd go Grady Dick in that case.
Right. What else do we have? Jumping into the YouTube. If you haven't hit it with a like yet, like, what are you doing? These people are really smart. They're doing it for free. Jeff Lee says DeLon Terry feels like a sharp GPP piece. Any thoughts or interest on that, Kristi?
You know, I don't mind that. Yeah, we didn't talk about that. And what is his price over on DraftKings? He is
3-3.
3-3. Just looking at that here real quick here. Yeah, I don't mind that in tournaments.
Okay, nice. What else do we have here? Scrolling down a little bit. Any love for Zaire Williams? Taylor, I'll give that to you, but you can answer it in a cash and kind of GPP way.
I think he's okay just because he's been starting and getting minutes lately. If you land on him, I don't think he's bad. But Memphis in general, like they have a sub 100 team total. It's just a really gross situation. Yeah.
Oof.
It's grim.
Who was it last night that had like 39 points almost in the fourth quarter? Who was that? Did you see that?
In the fourth quarter? I didn't see
like,
that.
I think they were like closing out the third and they barely got to 40. They were just getting that ass whooped. I couldn't. No. Well, this story is not very exciting. I didn't know who it was. We'll continue since we've only got 4 minutes until lock. DKGPP, it was Charlotte. That's who it was. It was Charlotte. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
DKGPP, last player, Kristi, Reeves or Porter?
I would say Porter.
Okay. Like I pulled up my ESPN app and I looked and I was like, wait, what? It was like 80 something to 30 something. I was like,
they had 26 in the first half. It was quite ugly.
Right? That's amazing. That is just incredible incompetence.
Honestly, yeah.
That is fantastic. Do we do this large field DK tournament, Kristi, Cat or Zion?
Ooh, I would still, even with all those guys in, with Edwards and Gobert in, I would take Cat.
Okay. Taylor, any interest in Mathurin? He says no love, but I think he just means like no love for Mathurin, not Kevin Love. He just says no love.
Yeah, his price came up. He's been playing really well in the minutes. He'll be there with Neesmith out. So tournament, yeah, I think he's still in play.
Okay. I'm going to jump back in the Discord after this one. Go for DeWin says, favorite play on FanDuel at forward. Taylor, I'm giving this to you. 5-5 or lower. FanDuel, small forward or power forward.
Norm Powell, I assume you have him already. I guess PJ Washington's fine. He's 5K flat. Terrence Mann is also 5K. So one of those three.
Great. Okay. A few more questions. This is Cash. So Taylor, I'm coming to you. 2v2. McCollum and Barrett or Barnes Mann?
Barnes Mann, assuming it's Scotty.
Yeah. Well, it might.
I think it's got to be Scotty with the prices. So
okay.
Yeah, that one.
So the next question is McDaniels or Harry Barnes? And Kristi, I will give that to you.
Who is the first one?
McDaniels or Harrison Barnes?
I think I'd go Harrison Barnes, as much as don't love it, but I think I'd go Barnes.
Okay. Smoke and Jace is FanDuel GPP. Kristi, Io or Westbrook?
I'd go Io, especially with Crusoe out, and yeah, they're shorthanded.
Okay. Homie in the RG Discord says DFS alerts are not popping up for me on Roto Grinders. It is very likely to do with the fact that we just overhauled the entire website. Literally all day, they've just been working out those tiny little bugs that pop up. So I'm sure it will be fixed. I'm sure they're literally already working on it, but I will make sure that they know about it just in case they don't. Less than a minute into lock here. What do you think about Naw if Edwards sits, but Edwards is in? So never mind. That's irrelevant. And with that, we've caught up on all the questions. How did we do that? We're amazing. Yeah, we did it. We did all the things we came here to do. Kristi, how about a feel it in your plums play of the day? Not sure that really applies in this case, but anyways, how about a feel it in your gut play of the day?
I am going to say I really like LeBron James tonight. I do in a big game, so I'm going LeBron.
Okay, Taylor, you got a feel it in your plums play of the day?
I love that LeBron call, but for the sake of being different, I will say Jamal Murray. I have a lot more Jamal Murray than the field.
Very nice. Okay. Guys, we have hit the lock. We have answered all the questions. We've given out the plays. I think we had a hell of a show. And I think it's time to bounce on out of here, especially since my wife just deposited a diaper into the baby changing stations right across from me. It's going downhill quick. So we're going to get on out of here. For Taylor, for Kristi, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. Enjoy that beautiful new website. Click around. If you find any bugs, just holler at any Roto Grinders social media account and we will get on it. You have been crunched.